You did it again. Oops, you did it again. You played with the pigs. Oh, you're not that innocent. You're guilty. Hi, everyone. Hi. And welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me yet again, and to my new subscribers, thank you so much. I see you. Together we can. What can we do? Anything. Why not? In today's video, I will be answering the question, has God left the chat? Has God left? Did he just I'm out, I left the chat, bye bye? Has God left the chat? Short answer, no. Long answer will come from the story of the prodigal son. Don't leave. I know we all know this story, but I know you guys love hearing me read, y'all. I have notes, I have a Bible, I'm organized. From Luke 15, verse 11, the prodigal son. Let's go. Then he said, this is Jesus. Jesus said this. Then he said, a certain man had 2 sons. The younger of them inappropriately said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that falls to me. So the father divided the estate between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered together everything that he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he wasted his fortune in a reckless and immoral living. Did I say in a reckless? Now, when he had spent everything, a severe famine occurred in that country, and he began to do without and be in need. So he went and forced himself on one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into the fields to feed pigs. Gasp. The reason I'm gasping is because in those days, the Jewish people, they could not stand pigs. Pigs were the most unclean thing ever. So you need context as well. He would have gladly eaten the pods that the pigs were eating, but they could not satisfy his hunger, and no one was giving anything to him. But when he finally came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired men have more than enough food, while I am dying here of hunger? I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of the hired men. So he got up and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with compassion for him, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against the heaven and in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, quickly, bring out the best robe for the guest of honor and put it on him, and give him a ring for his hand and sandals for his feet. And bring the fattened calf and slaughter it, and let us invite everyone. For this son of mine was as good as dead and is alive again. He was lost and has been found. So they began to celebrate. Now, his older son was in the field, and when he returned, he approached the house. He heard music and dancing. So he summoned one of the servants and began asking what the celebration meant. And the servant said to him, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has received him back safe and sound. But the elder brother became angry and deeply resentful, and was not willing to go in. And his father came out and began pleading with him. But he said to his father, look, these many years I have served you, and I have never neglected or disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me so much as a young goat. But when this other son of yours arrived, who has devoured your estate with immoral women, you slaughtered and fattened a calf for him. Then the father said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But it was fitting to celebrate and rejoice, for this brother of yours, who was as good as dead, has begun to live. He was lost and now has been found. Wow. I hope you can. The father in the story represents God. And then the prodigal son represents us, believers. And in this walk of faith, there will be times when we backslide, or times when we really feel like we've disappointed God with different things. It could be an old habit of yours that you're like, I've left it in the past. But then something occurs or something happens and you go back to it. Or it could just generally be you leaving the father's house to go feed pigs, whatever the pigs in your life look like. If the pigs in your life look like gossip, if the pigs in your life look like sexual immorality, if the pigs in your life look like stealing, lying, killing, that's scary. But whatever the pigs in your life look like, that's what it represents. And sometimes we leave the father's house, and what the devil then does, he maximizes on the thing called shame. Because you are a sinner that just keeps sinning. I am a sinner who's probably gonna sin again. He tries to make you feel like it's over, game over. You fed those pigs, there's no going back. How can you even go back to the father's house after feeding pigs? Everyone knows you've been feeding pigs. So when shame comes, the thing that follows shame is isolation. And when you're isolated, you're more vulnerable to many more attacks. And that's what the devil wants. And in the book of James, is it James who wrote the book of James? I would like to think so. James says to the people, pray for one another. Like, if Leanne is praying for X and X is praying for Y and Y is praying for Leanne, none of us will go without prayers. And that's what James says. He says, pray for each other so that none will go without prayers, right? And so when you're isolated, when you're so ashamed of feeding the pigs, you become isolated, then no one can help you pray. And you want to go back to the father's house and ask for forgiveness for something that you are going to do again. When you're ashamed, instinctively, you want to hide. Instinctively, you just want to never leave the house ever again. And so I'm here to say, whatever it is, whatever pigs you've been feeding, go back home. The Father is so gracious. The Father is so kind. The Father is so patient and merciful. He extends grace to your mistakes, okay? Don't let the devil lie to you. Because in James, again, in James 2 verse 13, it says, mercy triumphs over judgment. So whatever judgment is meant to be, if there's a war between mercy and judgment, the Bible has said that mercy will triumph over judgment. Yes, judgment will be there, definitely. But guess what? Mercy will triumph over it. And so don't isolate unless you have corona. I'm joking. That's not a good joke. I'm so sorry. When we go back to the Father and we're like, yo, Father, I'm sorry, Wait, what's that? You've been repeating the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over again. Ooh, scandalous. God is so merciful and gracious. He'll be like, throw a party. You're back, my child, right? But he already knows that perhaps 6 months later, you're going to repeat the same mistake. I'm not saying we must go out there ready to repeat the same mistake. No. But if it does happen that you do repeat the same mistake, God already knew you were going to repeat the same mistake. And yet, he doesn't hold it against you. Like when you go back to him, he doesn't say, you, same old. I know what you're going to do 3 weeks from now. There's safety in him. There's warmth in him. He just wants you back. He just wants you to come back. That's all. After feeding pigs, some people may not want to associate with you. But where there's coldness and bitterness, there's warmth in God. You need to start being actively participating with God. I was laughing with my other friend the other day that this is such a small issue, but I'm taking it to God. And I'm like, why not? He is the good Father after all. And it's crazy because like what seems like a small issue, and I'm like, why should I ask God about this? Yeah. Eventually it grows into something bigger. And then when it's not really, really big and out of control, I'm just like, oh God, what should I do? But you're just there like, from the word go, why didn't you involve him? And I hear a story about this Christian couple that used to go to the extent of involving God in choosing what they eat at a restaurant. They went to a buffet type of thing. There was a lot of food everywhere. And because they communicate with God about everything, they said, should we have the carrots? I don't think they said, should we have the carrots? But the Spirit just said, don't have that. A day later, it came out in the newspaper that everyone from that buffet had been hospitalized because they ate something that had gone really bad. But this couple didn't eat it because they're so in tune, they're so inclined, they're so in sync. And that's what I want. Is that not what you want? Don't you want to be in sync with the Father? that one move, because the Bible says your steps are ordered by the Lord. And so even your steps concerning what you eat, your steps concerning your friendships, your steps concerning your relationships are ordered by the Lord. And so why are we shutting him out of certain doors? It's so weird to me, because sometimes I come back home and I'm like, yo, I should have just asked God to help me. So now which brings me to something that came last night. What to expect next time on my channel.
Ungazi. In fact, uyangazi. Ungazi kahle.
Did you guys hear that? What does being gracious mean? Beyonce says,
always stay gracious. Best revenge is your paper.
Being gracious means that if you see your friend feeding pigs, and when they're done feeding pigs, you're not gonna be there like, pig feeder. Nah, being gracious means when they're done feeding pigs, you're gonna be like, yo, I think you need a bath. Come, I'll run your bath for you, give you warm water to bath with. Being kind, allowing room for people to mess up. Why am I crying? It's the hunger. It's the hunger.